You've been in homes that felt good the second you walked into them. You've also been in homes that felt like work, even when the furniture was beautiful, even when everything looked right, even when nothing was obviously wrong. The difference wasn't the size, it wasn't the budget, it wasn't the decorating, it was something else, something underneath all of it, something you could feel before you could explain. And you've probably spent years trying to recreate that feeling in your own home by buying things, rearranging things, painting things without quite getting there. There's a reason. The thing you've been chasing isn't on the surface. If you've ever noticed that some homes feel calming and grounding the moment you walk in, while others feel quietly exhausting, and you've assumed the difference was about taste, money, or design skill. The actual mechanism is doing something much more interesting than aesthetics. Homes don't feel good because they look right. They feel good because the people who live in them have, often without knowing it, shaped the space to reflect a certain kind of psychological state. The objects are the smallest part. The residue is the real part. Here's the thing nobody talks about. Your nervous system reads a room within seconds of entering it. Long before your conscious mind has formed any opinion about the decor, your body has already evaluated the space for safety, predictability, sensory load, and signs of recent emotional weather. The evaluation is automatic, and it's old. Your ancestors needed to know, walking into an unfamiliar shelter, whether the people inside were calm or agitated. The skill never disappeared. You're still doing it every time you enter any space, including spaces you live in. What your nervous system is actually reading isn't the furniture. It's the cumulative trace of how the space has been used. Calm conversations leave a different residue than tense ones. A kitchen where meals are prepared with care holds a different signal than a kitchen where they're prepared in a rush. A living room where people sit and talk holds a different signal than a living room where people sit and avoid each other. None of these traces are physically visible. All of them are detectable. The body knows. In the 1960s, British psychoanalyst Donald Winnicott introduced the concept of the holding environment. Winnicott was describing the kind of psychological space a good parent creates around a child. Predictable, responsive, calm enough that the child can develop without constant vigilance. Later researchers extended the concept to physical spaces. A holding environment isn't a style, it's a quality of containment. A home functions as a holding environment when it consistently signals that the nervous system can stop scanning. The signaling is what makes the space feel good. In the 1980s, environmental psychologists Roger Ulrich and Rachel and Stephen Kaplan documented what they called restorative environments. Physical spaces that measurably reduce stress, lower cortisol, and accelerate recovery from mental fatigue. Their research found that restoration depends on 4 specific qualities: a sense of being away from demands, the perception of extent or coherence in the space, fascination with something gently engaging, and compatibility between the space and what you actually want to do in it. Most homes have none of these qualities, the ones that do feel good for reasons their owners can't quite articulate. The 4 qualities are the why. Picture this. You walk into a friend's apartment for the first time. Within 10 seconds, before you've sat down, before you've taken in the details, you've already made a decision your conscious mind hasn't caught up with. You feel different here than you do in your own apartment. Your shoulders have dropped slightly. Your breath has lengthened. You don't know why yet, but your body has decided this is a place it can rest. Look around. The lighting is warm and uneven, not bright and flat. There are small evidences of life in progress, a half-finished book, a plant that's been tended, a candle that's actually burned. The space is not styled, it's inhabited. The objects in it have arrived because the person who lives there wanted them, not because they completed a look. The room is not performing. And your nervous system, which evaluates rooms for performance versus presence within seconds, has registered the difference and given itself permission to relax. But here's where it gets interesting. The reason your own home doesn't always feel this way isn't a failure of design. It's a reflection of the psychological state you've been in while inhabiting it. A home created during a period of anxiety holds anxiety in its arrangement. A home created during depression holds the flat, undecorated quality of depression. A home created during a difficult relationship holds the conflict in its corners. None of this is mystical. The choices you make every day about a space, repeated thousands of times, accumulate into a pattern that reflects the nervous system making the choices. The home is the slow exposure photograph of the person who lives there. But there's more going on than just residue. The homes that feel best are usually the homes where the people living in them aren't trying to perform a version of themselves through the space. Performance shows. Curated homes that exist for the imagined gaze of guests or social media often feel slightly unsettled even when they're objectively beautiful, because the space is doing work, maintaining an image, anticipating judgment, preparing for inspection that the nervous system can feel underneath the styling. Homes that feel calm tend to belong to people who have stopped performing in them. That's the actual variable. And here's the kicker. The cultural framing of good home feel has been almost entirely about objects. Buy this furniture, use this paint, follow this design philosophy. Almost none of that addresses the actual mechanism, which is the relationship between the person and the space they create. You cannot decorate your way out of how you feel. You can, however, address how you feel and watch the space slowly change shape around the new version of you. The home reflects the person, not the other way around. Now let's be honest. None of this means design doesn't matter at all, or that you can ignore the physical conditions of your space. Light, ventilation, organization, and basic functionality really do affect how a space feels. And some homes feel hard to live in because they lack practical things the inhabitants haven't been able to address. The reframe in this video isn't that the physical doesn't matter. It's that the physical is downstream of something most home advice never names. And addressing the upstream, your relationship to the space, the emotional state you're inhabiting it in, the performance you've been doing through it, produces changes that no amount of furniture rearrangement can match. But for the people who've spent years trying to make their home feel like the homes that feel good, here's what's actually happening. You're not failing at design. You're not missing some technique everyone else has figured out. You're trying to solve a psychological condition with material tools. The homes that feel good belong to people whose nervous systems aren't performing through the space. The homes that don't quite feel good belong to people whose nervous systems still are. Neither version is a verdict on the person. Both are accurate reports on a state that can change. The work isn't to redecorate. The work is to notice what your home has been quietly telling you about your own psychological state, and to understand that the feeling you've been trying to buy is actually a feeling you have to produce from inside. When the inside changes, the home changes. Sometimes nothing visible has moved. Sometimes everything has. There's something quietly true about how homes work. They are not separate from the people who live in them. They are extensions of the nervous systems that inhabit them, slowly shaped over months and years by the small decisions those nervous systems make. The home you walk into and feel calm in is calm, because someone calm lives there. The home you walk into and feel quietly unsettled in is unsettled because someone unsettled lives there. The objects are the medium. The state is the message. If you've spent years assuming that the home you want is something you need to acquire, this might be the moment to consider that you've had the equation backwards. The home isn't the cause of the feeling. The feeling is the cause of the home. And the version of you that would create the home you've been imagining is already in some quiet way beginning to take shape inside the version of you that watched this video and recognized something in it. You're not failing at making your home feel good. You're not missing a technique. You're trying to fix a psychological condition with material tools, and the home you've been chasing is actually a feeling that has to be produced from inside before it can be reflected outside. If this resonated, please subscribe to Silent Awareness. It helps the channel grow and lets you know when the next deep dive on the quietly different ways your mind and your world work is ready. Hit subscribe and the bell so you don't miss what comes next.